Okay, now we're going to start Premiere Pro lesson chapter 1.2, the sequence dialog box. We started out by creating a new project and opening that and doing a new project dialog box. And now I'm just going to go to my recent project here, which is chapter 1, and open that up. And when you do, or you get past your new project dialog box, Premiere Pro opens up automatically. When you start a new project, your next step would be a new sequence dialog box. In this case, since I started the project and came back, I'm going to go to File, New, Sequence to create my new sequence. The new sequence dialog box requires you to choose basically your video source. You want to match your settings in the Sequence Presets tab as best you can to your video, your original media, what you were shooting your video with. Now, Premiere Pro adapts your video and audio clips that you put into a sequence so they match the settings for that sequence. Each sequence in your project can have different settings, and you want to choose settings that match your original media as best as possible. Matching the original media allows Premiere Pro to reduce the work your system must do to play back clips. It improves real-time performance, and it maximizes quality. The new sequence dialog box has 3 tabs: Sequence Presets, Settings, and Tracks. So we're going to start with Sequence Presets. Choose a preset, and Premiere Pro chooses settings for your sequence that match a particular video and audio format. After choosing a preset, you can change those settings on the Settings tab. The wide range of preset configuration options are available for the most commonly used and supported media types. These settings are organized based on camera formats, so it's pretty easy to pick the one that best suits you because you can choose based on the camera you were using. You're going to click the triangle beside them to see the options underneath. Now, in this case, I'm working with CS6, and my options are a little more limited here, but I'm going to choose the DV NTSC widescreen 48 kilohertz because when I read the preset description over here, it best fits what I'm shooting with our TV Pro cameras. But if you find AVCHD Pro, you're going to choose that. And then you want to click all your triangles to check out what is available in your settings. Basically, you're going to need to determine the settings on your video camera and choose the best match in the Settings tab in the new Sequence dialog box. Your project should closely match the format of your original video clips in terms of 3 main aspects: resolution, TV system, that's PAL or NTSC, and scanning method, interlaced or progressive. You can find these details in your camera specifications. And if you need to, you can download a free multimedia analyzer like Media Info, AVI Codec. If you're using CS6, you can have the program automatically select a project setting to match your original video. Basically, you can skip this all together just as I showed before. I'm going to cancel this to show you. So if you want to just have CS6, a Premiere Pro, match it up for you, then all you're going to do is, after you choose a project name, you're going to be asked to select sequence settings. You're going to cancel that. And when Premiere Pro opens, you're going to import your video into the project and drag one of the files into the timeline. So you're going to import your video, and then you're going to drag one of your files into your timeline here. A new sequence is going to be created, and this sequence should already match your existing video. The settings are going to be done automatically for you. So if you want to go that route, that's a new option in CS6. Otherwise, you're going to go to New Sequence, and you're going to choose your preset as we discussed earlier. Your next tab is the Settings tab. Now, if you choose a sequence preset, your settings, Premiere Pro is going to go ahead and do this for you, and you want to keep them for the most part. But you have the option to change anything you like by changing the editing mode to custom. And then everything's available to you, and you can make any video, audio, video previews, and you can save that preset if you want to make a specific custom setting. Otherwise, leave it on whatever is there based on your sequence preset that you selected first, and Premiere Pro will just deal with that for you. Still, it's a good idea for you guys to look at your options here, especially if you want to be able to pass the Premiere Pro industry certification test. Finally, we have the Tracks tab. Now, the Tracks tab is simple. It allows you to choose the number of video tracks and the number of audio tracks available to you on your sequence in the timeline. Now, the number of video tracks, obviously 4 is the most you can do when you're using a multi-camera edit in Premiere Pro. So 4 is probably going to be for the best, but you could go more than that if you like. Now, on your audio, you have a little bit more, a few more options here, and it's understandable because you're dealing with options like 5.1 and multi-channel. For ours, we're going to use stereo. Now, you see here it grays it out because stereo is 2 channels. But when you get into 5.1 and multi-channel, you're talking about 6 channels for 5.1, as you can see. And you have 16 available in multi-channel. Now, you also have, you can add a track, you can delete selected tracks. You just select them, and then you can hit delete. Now, you have all these options here because of 5.1 and multi-channel. Stereo, you know, as 2 channels. Mono, you know, as 1. 5.1 uses 5 full bandwidth channels and 1 low frequency effects channel. That's the 0.1. Dolby Digital, Dolby Pro Logic 2, DTS, and THX are all common 5.1 systems. 5.1 is also the standard surround sound audio component of digital broadcast and music. Multi-channel audio, it refers to the use of multiple audio tracks to reconstruct sound on a multi-speaker sound system. 2 digits separated by a decimal point are used to classify the various kinds of speaker setups depending on how many audio tracks are used. Now, that's just the basics in terms of what's available to you with audio. When creating a video, you can control which sounds come from which speaker, in essence, by putting those sounds on a specific track. Hence the need to name a track, choose the track type. As you drop down this box, you see all kinds of options here. To map your tracks, to pan and balance, and also to choose, if you check this, you'll expand the track will be expanded by default in the timeline. You can also save a preset that you've created just as you can in your settings tab. That way you don't have to keep recreating them. Now, your next option is your sequence name. You would name this depending on what you're doing in your video. You can leave it numbered just like this. When I've done videos of plays, I've chosen sequence names by the scenes. It just helps me. Whatever makes sense to you to make this easier. And then once you do that, you click OK. And now you have your timeline set with your sequence. You see the timeline was there before if I don't have a sequence, if I close this, but I can open up and import and drag into the timeline, as I said before, and it will set my sequence settings based on the video so that I don't have to go through all that. And in essence, that is the sequence dialog, the new sequence dialog box in a nutshell.